we are live. This is gonna be pure audio. This is sort of like
A podcast.
a compensation for the Shema Ahli video, where it was pure video, not so much audio. So yeah, we're gonna help you Spotify listeners out basically by
Basically, shout out to Spotify.
shout out to
Mhm.
Spotify.
Anchor,
And
you'll
we
find us
are
there.
finally joined by Mr. Saeed Jammal.
Welcome back, Saeed.
Welcome back, bro.
As usual, it's always good to be here with you guys.
Habibi.
Yes, all is good, bro.
Habibi, Noor. What's the topic for today, Saeed?
All right. So, I like controversy and stuff like that. But today is
Yeah.
gonna be today is gonna be a little bit less controversy, more like
Okay.
a social kind of controversy.
Mhm.
Basically like the evolution of the conflicts between generations. So
Mhm.
starting from, for example, the parents of the millennials, then the millennials, and then right now Gen Z.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I guess what we could mainly focus on is the main thing that we can approach in the beginning is the different responsibilities and basically the different responsibilities that each generation has been through and are responsible for in their era. So, for example, the parents of the millennials, I don't know what are they called? I don't know if you want to call them boomers or stuff like that. But I believe those
No,
are grandparents.
that's Gen Z term, bro.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever you guys whatever anyone calls them,
Mhm.
um,
Ammu.
their responsibilities were mainly focused on, getting a job and then starting a family and like stuff like that. And their jobs were in a way, we're pretty fixed, like khalas, you do engineering, it's a specific field. There isn't many different types of engineers. If you become a doctor, there wasn't so many different specialists as a doctor. Most fields were just like, they weren't segregated into different kind of fields. So there weren't, so like khalas, if you're doing a job, it's just like fixed.
Like you mean like your
But
family,
then
like
when
your family did a job and you take the job from the family? Like if your dad's like a carpenter, you just or whatever. That's what you mean?
no,
No,
like if you're studying, for example, medicine,
Mhm.
like there would be one doctor for a whole family, instead of now you study family medicine to specialize in it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know if you got what I meant.
that's not how family medicine works, though. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So like back in the 50s or 60s, there wasn't as much specialization as there is now. But because with the increase in demand for jobs and like more innovation occurring throughout the era of the millennials and then onto Gen Z, they basically became more creative with the jobs and gave them, like different names. But in reality, most of the jobs are very similar,
Like
So,
what? Can you give us an example of what you mean? Like, Mhm.
okay. So for example, a cardiologist, there's like 5 different types of cardiologists just for cardiology. Can you back me up on that,
Ali,
Ali?
yeah, I was like, uh-huh.
No comment.
Is it
No
no
comment.
comment? Isn't it true?
Mhm.
No,
Wait, you
surgery-wise, yes, but like being a doctor isn't all about surgery. There's the
Yeah.
diagnosis part. There's the clinical part. There's it's
Mhm.
And
like
each one is a
there's
different type
there's
of specialization, isn't it?
in cardiology, surgery-wise, yes, but
See,
general
this
practitioner-wise, no, not really.
There you go.
okay,
Mhm.
but like for example, if you want to go through the different aspects, for example, if you want to get diagnosed, you go to a different cardiologist than a surgeon.
No, if you want to get diagnosis, you go to a normal doctor or like a general cardiologist. He will
Okay.
refer you to a specific cardiologist from a branch of like specialization for the surgery. But
Okay,
to
thank you for
diagnose the
proving my
issue,
point.
uh, not diagnose the issue in terms of what's wrong with you, in terms of fixing it, actually, like surgery
Yeah,
wise.
exactly. Like, but like for example, in the time for our parents, there would be just one cardiologist. You go to see him, he'll tell you what you have, and he'll do the operation.
True.
Well, what's the point behind this site? You're just saying they're like creating new jobs without they don't have any meaning.
No,
Just
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. It's a building block.
okay.
Give them
So
time.
yeah, it's a long episode.
Let's
So
see.
as we approach this time for then became for the millennials and became more innovative, more creative, and now it's on Gen Z to get jobs. So another the topic that I'm trying to reach is, when like your parents complain on your ass, telling you like, why don't you go find a job when you graduate or something like that, and they're just badgering you on how you're unemployed, or I guess I'm kind of talking from like personal experience a bit, but like you get that feelings like it was different for you. It's
It
not the
was.
same.
It was.
It's not the same thing. Like for example, if I studied engineering, like my dad, I wouldn't have the same job opportunities as him, even if I studied the same field as him. Just because I'm going in a different economy and with the different changing positions and like the shifting in demands for engineering. I mean, there's way more engineers now than when my dad was applying for jobs.
And all they need back then was a high school degree. Now you need like a full-on PhD.
Yeah, you need a master, even exactly, PhD, man. And sometimes even then, you still find yourself getting rejected for being overqualified somehow.
Oof.
Yeesh.
So yeah, so like it doesn't make sense sometimes that we have a different kind of conflict to go through. Like back then, they were okay. So like how they say that our generations are the current generations are the most generation have the highest rate of suffering from depression and so on. Ali, Ali Haj, I think you can confirm that, right?
Yeah, no, I'd say so. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking from my own self. I'm going through it myself.
Especially nowadays
And,
with the whole COVID thing and the economy and everyone being lonely and isolated. I mean, this is not natural this is not natural for anyone. Like us as kids, young people, we're supposed to go out all the time and socialize. So this is like unprecedented amount. We did, I mean, one of our first episodes was about suicides and anxiety and depression due to COVID directly. And it's been going on for such a time now.
Saying that this is unnatural is actually not, I wouldn't agree with that, to be honest. It's not the first time the world goes through a pandemic, and it's not the last time the world's going through a pandemic.
Yeah, but we never had social media through any pandemic. This is the first time,
Yeah.
we have never been disconnected.
This whole issue stems back to social media, honestly. This whole issue stems back to social media.
But now it's been taken to but now it's taken to like an extreme, because back in the day, you had social media and you had your friends.
Part of the topic.
You had your social media and you had your friends. Now you just have social media.
No, I still have my friends.
It's part of the topic because like in our parents' generation, they didn't have social media to influence their minds and affect their thought or implement ideologies into their thought process. Like there wasn't that. It's like basically what you have in the newspaper and what you have in the people around you. This is the information you have, and you work with that. But now you're bombarded with so much different information from all different types of sources. You don't know who to believe anymore.
It's overwhelming at times.
It is overwhelming.
Much,
and in the end we are just humans, and we're the same humans as our parents when they were our age, but yet it's hard for them to understand like the mental influence that is being placed upon us with mental pressure that's being placed upon us at this stage in our lives, especially at this stage, which is a very crucial stage because it is like I remember I read the report. I'm not 100% sure if it is of the source, but it said like between the ages of like 18 to 24 is like the highest period of like depression rate for a person. Like this is where you get like hit by the most by it.
18 to 24.
Because you're confused.
I'd say, no, that's accurate. That's accurate. Like young adults.
It's the reason why think the reason why, like, my theory of this is basically because this is the age where we have to choose what we want to do for the rest of our lives, right? So let's say every average person, like every average person,
and that's an issue.
You're supposed to get married by 25, kinda. You're supposed to have your life figured out back then. Your parents, our parents, back then, by the age of 25 or something, you know what I mean? They that's generally when they had most of their life figured out. But now we're all reaching our, mid 20s, 30s.
We're still trying to figure shit out.
And they feel like, well, and they have friends who have their life figured out. They see them on Facebook all the time, right? So
but that's an unfair thing to say. Like, oh, my Facebook friend has this and this and that. No one's gonna go on Facebook and be like, yo, I just got a divorce. Hey, no, that's not what happens. Like, shit, life is like, we've adapted to social media so much where it's like we have to have this like perfect life and show everyone how perfect we are, and we have to show everyone, oh, look at me, I have this, I have that. Like, no, that's not natural. That's not. It's like, no. Here's a question I want to ask the both of you. Why is the marital age, or the age people get married, like, is increasing throughout, like,
well, like education first of all, right? Because first of all, like, everyone needs a master's now as opposed to needing a high school degree to get a job. So, if you're studying, you don't have time to like raise a family. I think that's part of the reason why.
Not only that, there's also because women are becoming more independent, and they're no longer seeking dependency on men to live, which is one of the reasons. So they tend to get married also very late as well, since they're no longer looking for financial stability to get married. Well, it depends on which state, which country, of course. So they basically look for, when they want to get married, they're looking for a person that they can spend their lives with, not only be financially stable. So they're usually looking for someone that is close to their age. So for him to be close to their age and be mature at the same time, for men, we take longer to get mature, while women are usually they become mature mentally. I mean, earlier than men.
Yeah, I'd agree.
That's a good take.
Not only that, also back then, like, the age gap between a man and his wife is like, whoa, 10, 15 years. Like, my grandma, one of my grandma got married at the age of 11.
Could you do that still in Kuwait today?
I mean, in Kuwait, no, not really. It's more of a like, finish your university bachelor's and get married right away,
Well, that's different than 11 years old.
The case.
Yeah, that's different than 11.
Yeah, so like that's it's not weird. I wouldn't say it's weird. I'd just say like, like, that's a change. That's a change. Like,
also, you want to know something that I think also influences this topic about the marriage. It's like our generation is becoming more creative. Okay, so like previous generations, everything would be more planned out, so like, okay, it's more structured, like Ali was saying, 25, get married, have a job, have a career, whatever. By 28 you already have a first kid, stuff like that. This is mainly for the man. Like, for the woman, probably get married earlier even. So but for us, we're becoming more fluid with our choices, since our generation is more the jobs that we're going for are being more of like creative jobs,
and then like entrepreneurship and stuff, because all those other jobs,
a lot of people are becoming more. You were saying?
Yeah. I think you're saying it's like jobs are becoming creative. I just think that we're just like oversaturated, especially in a place like
Lebanon.
We
are
all the jobs.
So we have. So people are becoming more creative with their choices. So like, they're creating jobs for themselves by making up new demands for people. Like, whatever new kind of invention comes out, no matter how small or whatever, it's making money. Because people just want something new to try. And somehow and okay, they see this new invention, okay, let's try it, whatever, we have money and spend it, blah, blah, blah. So you have a lot of people that are creating jobs instead of looking for a job. And when they create jobs, they create like a small company. And then when they create a small company, they're creating opportunities and more jobs for an oversaturated market.
But the older generation doesn't understand that there are such things as like a new job. They're just very traditional.
Exactly. That's why we have, for example, here in the Middle East, your parents are always going to say is like, hey, be an engineer or be a doctor, like, because you always find a job. Honestly, that's not true. That's
hilarious.
Yeah, like you will find engineers and doctors who don't have jobs, aren't employed, getting fired.
This is still
true
AUBMC, by the way.
AUBMC laid off 800 people 2 days ago.
Wow.
Well, yeah. The issue is like another issue I'm seeing with the new generation is they're losing tradition and culture, like especially like in our parts of the world where culture and tradition is everything, right? Like in Kuwait.
Well, even you'd say in the States, not just Kuwait, but even like in the United States, there is a culture, right? There is kind of like a tradition.
But I wouldn't compare their culture or tradition with the Arabs, to be honest.
Yeah, they're different.
They always change. They're always like, well, it's not just different.
It wasn't
their
always
culture,
changing. No, America
their culture
has
is not as heavy as ours.
It is. It is, right? And we just don't know that because nowadays it's being overridden. But if you look at anyway from like the 70s earlier on, there's always been this America. I know it's not like as old and like ancient as like, you know, the Arabic tradition, but there is an American tradition. But that's being twisted on its head. Like America is like it's like a Christian country, like a melting pot. Like they have the Constitution.
It is a Christian country.
You know,
it's a melting pot of Christians.
But that's being changed a lot because I don't know because of what, Ali? What do you think is straying people from their paths?
I think in our parts of the world, it's the Americanization and the westernization of the youth, right? With like social media and what's cool and what's not and what's okay and what's not. Like, here's a good example. So if I can, let me just quickly set this up real quick because so before, let's talk about Kuwait, okay? And not too far off.
I can say something very controversial right now, and like it will be pretty interesting.
What is it? What do you want to do?
And we'll get into it.
Sure, you want me to say it?
Hold on. Let me just finish this point. So before, all right. Okay, like 20, 30 years ago, right? In Kuwait, this is like something normal you would wear if you look at your screen. This is the normal. This is me, by the way. This is your normal traditional clothing that you wear on a daily basis, right? Now we're dressed like this, and this is like the new norm. You know, this is the new thing, the new like. This is how we're clothed, right? And any public outing, gathering, whatever. This is how we would dress. You know, 30, 20 years ago, if I was alive and I was dressed like this, you know what would happen to me?
You'd be
I would be made fun of so hard.
They call you an American or something?
Bullied. Yeah, and like my Arabism would be questioned. My honor would be questioned. Now it's like something normal, like like you only wear it when you go to a special event or a social like gathering with old people, you know, like. And it's only changing, right? Same can be said about Lebanon.
Yep, exactly.
30 and 40 years ago, you guys had your traditions, your cultures.
It's true.
To the Arab world and to the Arabic people. Here's my question to you. Where has our culture gone? Because when you lose culture and tradition, you lose your identity.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose your identity, you leave the Western world to tell you what your identity is.
To give you an
And
identity. They
when
don't tell
an
you. Yeah,
outsider, when an outsider has to tell you who you are, that's dangerous. That's very dangerous.
yes.
What do you guys
Good
think?
point, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point. No, I can actually talk about this, which collides with my point, with my controversial point that I will mention.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you were talking about like our identity and culture, but for me, what I've noticed is like our Arabs, Christians, whatever, their culture and identity and traditions are mainly based around religion. You know, like religion is like the foundation of these people's cultures.
I disagree.
Would you would you agree? You disagree?
I disagree.
Okay, that's your
Here's
opinion,
why I
obviously.
disagree. Let me tell
But
you
wait,
why
wait,
I
let me
disagree.
continue. Let me
Go
continue. Let
ahead.
me finish
Go ahead.
the whole
Go ahead.
thing. It's not the whole thing. Obviously, religion is not the whole part of tradition and culture, but it is like a pillar of the foundations. And what I've noticed is like whenever a people start straying from a certain religion, a new religion comes out. Now, I don't mean it like this was all okay. Probably it was all destined, or that's what they say in the books. What I feel is like maybe since like now we're straying away from the last religion that has come, maybe we should have a new prophet and a new book.
Ali? His mind's just gonna. Yeah. Ali, go blast, go full blast on this.
Okay. You telling me that
He's
we
gonna
need a
kill.
new religion and the new
He's gonna
prophet
strangle me.
is only saying to me that you, first of all, don't believe in the current one. Second of all, have lost faith. Third of all, you do not understand religion the way it's meant to be understood.
So explain
Here's
it.
why.
Mm-hmm.
To say we need a new religion is as if you said the old religions were made up and they were planned out wrong, right? But the thing is with religion didn't come from humans. It came from God. All of them, all of these religions, Judaism, Abrahamic, Christianic, Muslim, or Islam, these religion, they, even as a Muslim, you're supposed to believe that the last two or the last three that came before came from God, which is the last one, Islam, which was the last religion
Ali,
to come from God, right?
okay.
When you're saying we need
I
a new religion, it means you're saying I never believed in the old religion, or I did not completely understand the old religion.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can I respond now?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So what you're saying is true. I don't believe in the current religions. I do believe in God, but I do believe religion is man-made, and I'll get to that point. So you were saying that what's it called? That all of the religions in the past have come from God,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What proof do you have of that? Because it was written in those books? Because it was told to you by someone who has read those books? Was it told to you by a sheikh who has studied these books, who were written from those people who said it came from God?
Here's my proof. The proof is when I read the scientific or the logical or the artistic or any aspect of the religion, I find it very truthful. Let's take the simplest example. خلق الإنسان من علق. This was an accurate or the most accurate description of how a human is formed inside the uterus. When a human starts to finally take shape from a ball of cells, it starts to look like a leech, which is alaq in Arabic, right? When God says, and we have brought you iron from the skies, iron, the metal, you know it, صح? Do you know what Are you guys there?
No, I'm not. I know what metal is. I know what iron is.
Okay, iron. God tells us that iron has come from the skies. What do scientific people or religious, not religious, scientific people discovered that iron came from a meteor that came from, well, where else will a meteor come from? The seas? No, the sky. Right?
Okay.
Many scientific aspects in the religion, in our religion, is correct and has been recently discovered, even down to medical science, right? And it's not mentioned in the religion, but it's mentioned in like the ahadith of how the Prophet himself used to act. Now, as Muslims, we know the Prophet didn't even take a single step without God allowing him to. So the way he acted, the way he dressed, the way he moved, the way he talked, what he said, what he thought, even down to his basic psychology was all from God. Now, when the Prophet, the way he thinks goes down to like, here's a good example. I remember this back from Islamic studies, back from school. The Prophet used to drink water, short sip, and he'd wait. Another short sip, and he'd wait. And then he'd take a longer sip of water, right?
Yeah.
It's been discovered that this is actually good for your kidneys and for your stomach. Mainly your stomach.
Okay.
Right? So
Now,
when you're saying...
Can I respond?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just so like the information doesn't get too much on me. Okay.
All right.
So you're mentioning like some of these things that the abhath have not the research that has been discovered recently is was known back in the days of the Prophet. Now they were mentioned in the hadith. The hadith came after the Prophet, after he died.
Yes.
And the research came after he died. Now, how do we know that the hadith were not made up?
Here's
and also
how.
another thing. No, let me continue. Just one thing also.
Okay.
Also, the research that was mentioned, like خلق الإنسان من علق. How do you know, like, once upon a time, someone just, in the time of the Prophet, someone opened up a pregnant woman and found and saw the baby, how it looked like, the fetus?
I'll tell you why. Because the stage of when the fetus starts to look like, quote unquote, a leech cannot be seen by the human eye.
Okay.
That's one. Two, in terms of ahadith, yes, they were written 350 years after the death of the Prophet. Okay, that's fair. But that's fair. That's a fair point you've mentioned. But exactly. The research.
But there's also There's also one thing I want to mention as well, which is so you know how they mentioned that there's like the Old Testament and the New Testament for the for the Bible, right?
Yes.
How do you know this didn't happen for the Quran?
Because the Quran was literally written almost at the time of the Prophet. So the cousin of the Prophet, because it wouldn't have. Because I'll tell you how I know. When I read it now, and I agree with the scriptures, okay. There's also the old and saved scriptures. Have you heard of the oldest Quran that they've discovered?
No.
Well, they
I don't really follow up on it.
Okay, well, they discovered, one of the oldest written Quran, which was roughly around the time of the Prophet's death. So, like, it was still in his lifetime, but it came, like, it's around that time period.
Okay.
Word for word, it's just the silsilat al-suwar, the chain of how they place each chapter was different, but it was the same word for word. Inna nazzalna lakum, or inna anzalna, let me find the actual ayah. As God says that we have given you or revealed to you the book, and to it we are forever taking care of it. So that's how I know.
I think when Saeed says we need a new religion, I think he just means we need to go back to the original instead of whatever we have right now. Yeah. Especially in a place like Lebanon, whatever, this makeshift, like half religion, half politics.
It's been so long since the original came out. and you can never be sure of how the scriptures have changed, especially because of the hadith. Like you told me, they came over, of them were sent down through the generations orally, because a lot of people were illiterate back then, so it was almost impossible for anyone to write these down. So they could have been, you know how people change
like Chinese
topic.
whispers, I think is what you're
exactly
trying to
Chinese whisper.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of these things, it's hard to accept.
Okay, because that's why we have weak ahadith and strong ahadith. Weak sayings of the Prophet, which basically means if you want to do it, you can do it. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. And then you have the strong chain, which is passed down from a reliable source to a reliable source. So you can take and leave what you want from the ahadith, but in the end of the day, your main source of information comes from the holy book, which is the Quran.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I have nothing against a religion. I do respect religion, all of it, and all of its essence.
I know. I'm not saying you don't.
Separate it, and what?
I didn't say you don't. I'm just saying like.
Yeah. But no, because like you were saying in the beginning, like you don't have your faith and stuff like that.
Not that you don't have your faith. It's just that you didn't understand the religion properly.
No,
and I don't blame you.
But yeah. That's the point. I did believe in it. I did believe it. Sorry, not believe as in like in faith. I did understand it. I just chose not to follow it because I didn't feel like I would have been a firm believer.
Okay.
I did understand it, and if anything, I would choose Islam over any religion, but I just choose not to follow.
Okay, that's fine. That's something.
I just hope my family doesn't hear me because they're like right behind me.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think we just need to do more research. I think we just need to. We need all of us just need to do more research. I feel like neither Ali. I mean, Ali probably is the most research of all of us. But
fact check.
I can do more research.
Like I always say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look. In the end of the day, when we talk about religion, we have to just agree to disagree, because religion in the end of the day is between the creator and his creation, or between God and his creation, right?
Exactly. It's a spiritual thing more
it's a spiritual
than
what
they're making it out to be right now.
Right? So if you're like a follower of God, right, but all your neighbors are demons, I don't know. Doesn't that
no, I don't think it's a community
society.
We unfortunately made it a community thing, right? You have your Sunna, your Shia, your whatever, your Ismaili, your Ja'fari, or your Hanbali, or all these different stuff. This was our mistake when it came to the religion.
I see.
This was our mistake. Is we secularized ourselves way too much to the point where everyone around us is our enemies. That's why people are like, I don't understand how these terrorists think and stuff like that. It's because we've been secularized. You're just adding more fuel to the fire to these young, influential kids, and you turn them into warriors hating the people who don't believe you. It's like, I'm right, you're wrong. If you don't believe me, you're dead. Like, no, religion is how you interpret it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, it's so complex that it's not wrong to hear how other people interpret it. And if you choose to agree, that's on you. If you disagree with someone else's interpretation, again, that's on you. It's not, oh, what does the Sheikh say? The Sheikh is masoom, infallible. Everything he says is right, so I should ask him. No, I sometimes, even though Anna, personally, I don't believe most of the shuyukh din or anything like that, right? But it doesn't mean I don't listen to them. I listen. I give them a chance. I go like, okay, explain to me. So why is this wrong and this right? If I found myself, okay, you know what? This makes sense. Yeah, this is right. Fine, I'll take it up. I'll pick it up. If I find it maybe not, then no, I disregard it. You know? This is another issue when we talk about religions. People wholeheartedly without thinking. When God and His Prophet himself say, an hour of reflection is worth 70 years of worship. 1 hour of reflection is worth 70 years of worship.
And this is very true with, honestly, in any kind of topic. Like, this is the approach that everyone should have when they're interacting with others, not hating on anyone's opinion just because it disagrees with yours. Like, I think not only religion, in general, anything at all. Like, just having this hate mentality against someone who disagrees with you is what causes these conflicts between two different groups. And which is also in religion, like you said, Sunnah or Shia, which is a political thing more than a religious thing.
Exactly. And this is what we've come to understand in Kuwait. In Kuwait, let me tell you a good example. So in 2011, 12, and around this time, so like 5 years, maybe 6 years ago, we had a bombing of a Shia mosque in Kuwait, right? By ISIS. And this was basically the whole plan for them was to start this whole revolution of Sunnah versus Shia and all that stuff. Why did it not work? I'll tell you why it didn't work.
Yeah, we were.
In Kuwait, I have friends who are Sunnah, and then I have friends who are Shia.
Mm-hmm.
We eat from the same plate, literally. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
We slept with each other, like sleepovers, things like that. We went to the desert with each other, slept in camps with each other. We ran together, we played together, we studied together. Because in Kuwait, and I'm not saying every single one of us, we still have those few extremists who are like, no, they're wrong, we should not be with them, and that's fine. As long as they don't have the power to cause disrupt and dismay, it's fine. Let them think whatever they want to think. But in the end of the day, we understand that, hey, you can be whatever you want to be, right? As long as you keep it to yourself and you don't force your stuff on me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't force your stuff on each other. This is what's causing people.
I think we kind of mentioned this.
I'd say
we kind of mentioned this in like my previous segment. Remember when we talked about political, religious ideologies and culture and whatnot.
Yeah.
Using to control people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it is a very like power in the wrong hands is what. So like when you mentioned the shuyukh, so like people listen to them, and some people listen to them wholeheartedly and follow them, and then eventually that sheikh or leader or whatever turns out to have a political agenda, and then he uses these people that support him wholeheartedly without questioning his judgments or his decisions, and they do his bidding no matter what, claiming that he is the person that will represent them properly, whether it be a politician, whether it be a religious figure, whether it be any kind of sort of person who has any influence. And then they don't think logically about their own decision to follow this person. And they don't think logically about what this person, his agenda is, what he is trying to do. This is honestly the major problem, for example, here in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm. Ali, do you have any comment on this subject matter?
I mean, it's like, I do agree. I mean, we just like, it's a lot. I feel like I need to learn more, obviously, about this whole thing. This is why I'm not like really intruding too much, because I really don't have a firm opinion yet, and I should. It just takes time. As for like, I do think maybe we like, as I said earlier, I don't think maybe we need a new thing. I think we just need to maybe look back to our roots and find out who we really are, and maybe embrace that, as opposed to. I understand progressivism. I understand, especially I live in California, right? Everyone's here super progressive, super liberal, and you can say all of them here probably lost like any faith, right, in any kind of God. They like worship computers now or something. But it's dangerous because there is more to life than just science. Like even science doesn't get everything right, right? It's new, and they're missing a lot of the key pieces that makes what's human. I like work a lot in psychology, and from my experience, it's like there is more than just like taking data, and there is more than just like making everything into numbers. Uh, there is some, I think we just all need to learn from our history as opposed to erase it. Yeah, that's my take. I don't know. We're also out of time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
realized. But before that, there is a little, like I will say this. Let's not lose our culture and our traditions. Let's
Mhm,
remember who we are as Arabs. There is nothing wrong with being an Arab.
mhm,
We have the greatest history. We have the greatest everything, you know?
mhm.
Yes, there were a few that were like, just a little bit bad, but there's bad and good wherever you go in this world.
Mhm.
Wherever you go in this world.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, like right now, most of Arabia is going through a very difficult time. But hopefully, uh, things can change. As things do change, things always change, right? Like one time Arabia was top of the world, one time France was the top of the world.
One
Now,
time's Rome, one time's Greece,
exactly.
one
Uh
time's,
huh.
you know?
By the way, also
Hmm.
a lot of our history and culture has been destroyed from the times, I think, of the Romans and stuff. Like the Arab culture and research and technology was one of the most advanced in the I think the Middle Ages, and then eventually a lot of our libraries were sacked and burnt and destroyed uh,
Hmm.
because of just the information, the wealth of information we had. Just basically, a lot of it was kind of destroyed.
I mean,
So
I can see that there's a reason behind it. If you have all this information, you're more powerful, more advanced than others, and that could be scary. Like,
it's intimidating,
this is
exactly.
something? Yeah, this is something one of my older cousins had told me. He said, "What's the most like? How can you make the Western world afraid and angry?
Hmm.
It's when you know something they don't. They
Hmm.
fear,
Hmm.
and then they start causing disrupt and dismay." And then they start trying to change the youth, and then they start doing all this stuff. You guys, honestly, this was a conversation I wanted to have from before, but I was a bit like shy of talking about this, but I'm glad we did.
Yeah,
My
I'm glad we turned
message,
off the cameras also.
yeah, no,
Uh,
it's fine, huh? Here we go. There,
mhm.
where is it?
Yeah,
I mean,
I feel like
I'll
now
do my closing
over.
monologue with the camera open.
before you do your closing monologue, let me do my closing monologue.
Go ahead.
I just want to
Can I
add,
get the
like,
closing monologue?
aside, you can also get each one of us can get a closing monologue. I'll
There
start
we go.
first though. I'll say
No, no,
that
I'm
I
good.
think that maybe human beings need some kind of religious platform or spirituality just to become morally, complete, right? To know what's right, what's wrong, to know what are the important values in life. Those things are important. I think the problem is there were some parts of religion that were a bit controversial, and so a lot of people are just like, just to f with this, entirely.
Hmm.
And in that process they lost a bit of their humanity, and that's dangerous, right? And um so it's just about trying to find, we should all try to find something that helps us understand who we are, but also how we fit in the community and what's right and wrong. um you need some kind of story, some kind of like foundation, or else it's very, very hard to have a moral compass, right? It's very hard to love thy neighbor logically, right? But you have to do it. You have to do it. It's a sin not to do it. And people are afraid of sinning, or people are not afraid of sinning, I guess, which is right. They sin and they're like, yeah, I don't care about sinning. I don't care. I'm not gonna go to hell. Well, it's like,
They
okay,
don't even call it sinning anymore. They call
yeah,
it fun.
yeah, exactly. And it's like,
They masked it as this fun thing
fun
to
thing,
do.
and it's like, it's wrong, right? There's a reason it's wrong, even whether or not the religion is there. Some things are right and some things are wrong, and taking advantage of, you know, doing wrong things just because you're not religious is a big problem, I see.
It
That's
is,
my
honestly. Saeed, what do you have to say about, like, what's your closing monologue?
I guess I just want to say, like, uh, I actually don't actually believe we need a new prophet. I just said it as a controversial term. Maybe some people do agree with that, but like I really doubt it's something we need, since eventually it will just fade away if people are just gonna look for something new every 1,000 years. I think what needs to happen though is there should be less people looking for others to give them answers, and more them seeking out their own answers, seeking out answers for their own questions. Obviously, with some advice and guidance from other people who like have more experience or something like that. But in the end, they shouldn't follow others, especially when it comes to religion. I feel like everyone should just study it by themselves, appreciate it for what it is, see the details and and see the benefits that it can offer to you on a mental state and in a spiritual state, and just take it as it is. Don't listen to what other people tell you what it is, because that's what makes you hate it. That's what makes you not want to follow something. When people tell you what to do, and when people tell you to have to place restrictions on you and limit you in your abilities. When people do that to you, of course you're gonna detest something. But when you seek it out yourself and study it on your own, I truly believe that a lot of people would be more into religion than there is now.
What I have to say is, I find it sometimes a bit worrying when I have people saying, "Oh, this person told me that it's right," or "Oh, this person told me that this part of the religion means this, this, and that." The very first word that came on to our Prophet Salatu Wasalam alayh was "Iqra," read. A religion of science and reading and looking for the answers on your own has turned into, "Oh, let me call up this knowledgeable person, when you can do the reading yourself." All of our parents have spent so much money putting us into proper education, or if they haven't spent money on proper education, they taught you, or they enforced studying and reading and writing and critical thinking on you. I think it goes to waste when you leave it all and start believing him and start believing a bunch of, "Oh, the Sheikh said this and all the Saeed said this and all." No, read. This is my final and closing message. Read, remember your culture, remember who we are as Arabs. Leave these stupid ideologies that the West has been trying to enforce on us, and remember where we have come from. Remember who we are as human beings and as people.
Indeed, indeed.
Indeed.
الموت إلى
So,
أمريكا.
nah, let's
no,
not
no,
say
let's
that.
not let's not add that. Hey, let's not add that. We don't endorse that at all. No.
Yeah, no, we don't. No, we don't endorse
No,
death
it's just a joke. It's just a
on
joke.
camera. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay.
You guys know me. I'm a jokester.
I know. That's fine. Thank you guys for watching another episode. I guess
More like listening.
yeah, or listening. But
Mhm.
now it's the end of the
Tuning
video,
in.
so me and Ali are gonna have our videos up just to do the signing out part. And there we go. That's our Saeed. That's our Saeed, Mister. We need a new prophet. You're gonna be remembered about by this, bro. So you better start getting used to it, honestly. Anyways, now this boys, this has been a good conversation. I hope my message reaches like the rest of the world, especially the Arabs, because in the end I am Arab and so are all of you, right? The both of you. Peace and love, health, wealth, and happiness. I'll see you guys later.